Thank you, Ron, and thank you to the Centennial Institute for hosting me. Thank you to my family for forcing me to do speech and debate when I didn't want to do it. And believe me, I didn't. And let me tell you about America. She is generous and kind, instilled with a deep-seated sense of justice, grounded in reason, and committed to timeless principles. At her best, she champions liberty, prizes capitalism, eschews racism, and embraces those who would adopt her heritage. At her best, she cannot be judged by the government she elects, but by the people who elect it. People who are, at their best, informed, if not passionate about the State of the Union, invested in the American economy, and self-motivated to pursue their own dreams of their own volition for their own prosperity, knowing that they live in a nation where they will be permitted to reap what they sow with their own hands. America is a nation that is fueled by her citizens' hard work and work ethic, the kind that knows a day of work will be rewarded by the fruits of that same labor, without it being picked through by the fingers of a redistributive, overreaching, or bureaucratic government. Because when Americans keep what they earn more. When Americans earn and produce more, they buy more. When Americans buy and sell more, the American economy soars. And when the American economy soars, the whole world is a better place. Because a country intrinsically structured around objectively good principle sets the standard for global business. Americans, at their best, spend their time pursuing their own dreams instead of trying to reap the benefits from someone else's successes. Her citizens know the value of hard work. They know the value of elbow grease, and they capitalize on every opportunity, and there are many. Instead of creating fancy terms for non-existent social and economic inequalities, or skipping days of work to complain about their low wages. Speaking of non-existent social and economic inequalities, the only institutionalized racism in America is the kind that says some classes need or deserve special privileges. The kind that tells schools they must accept a certain number or a certain ratio of black, brown, and female students, instead of the students who, on principle, on merit, and on objective standard, contribute most to that program. The kind that is contrary to the American dream, the American idea that you keep what you earn, no more and no less. And you should be judged, as Martin Luther King Jr. said it best, by the content of your character and the skill of your hands, not the color of your skin. America at her best doesn't rely on the federal government for parental supervision and parental intervention when a privately owned bakery or a privately owned flower shop is morally opposed to participating in their event. In America, because of capitalism, you have choices. And so America at her best, and citizens when they're at their best, and when that happens, take their money and take their business, walk down the street, and get their products elsewhere. Support the business that you agree with, out of respect for fellow man and appreciation for freedom of conscience. America at her best welcomes the poor, the tired, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. She maintains a wall to protect her own, but she opens a door to all who would choose liberty over security, opportunity over welfare, and Americanism over multiculturalism. In 1945, the United States possessed a weapon that we could have easily used to take over the world. But instead, we used it sparingly to end a war as quickly as possible and to minimize lives lost. And then we immediately sent humanitarian aid to rebuild and to restore nations that we had just defeated in a war that we didn't start. Why? Why did America do that? Because America stands for more than war. Because we stand for more than victory, for more than conquering other nations or furthering our reach. We stand for life, for liberty, for property, and for the pursuit of happiness. And we're willing to put ourselves on the line to prove it. The truth is, never once has America put boots on the ground, ships in the sea, or planes in the sky that we're fighting for anything other than principle. Anytime a natural disaster strikes, it's the United States Navy that shows up. Why? It's not because we benefit from it. It's not because we stand to gain anything from third world countries that have been rocked by earthquakes. It's not because we're some selfish police state. It's not because we're asked. It's not even because we get a simple thank you. It's because the United States is a nation built on principle. It's because the United States is willing to be the shining city on a hill, to prove to the world that capitalism and individual freedom work. Because we have something so good. We have something so good that it overflows to other nations, and all we want to do is share it. Folks, that's America. That's the country that we live in. But in our campus safe spaces, our gender-neutral bathrooms, and our parents' basements, we sometimes think that capitalism is somehow, selfish. Let's do what my generation doesn't often do. Let's put feelings over here. Let's look at facts. Let's look at history. Let's do it objectively. Let's do it grounded in reason. 1901, Andrew Carnegie retires at age 66 from the steel industry as the richest man in the world. What did that selfish American capitalist do next? He donated over 90% of his fortune, which he had every right to keep, to educational institutions and built over 2,000 public libraries so that other capitalist Americans had the opportunity to advance themselves. Or take Bill Gates, who dropped out of high school because he had an idea, and America let him follow his dreams because that's what we do here. Because we are the nation of dreamers. Of his own accord, he found a product that people wanted, that people needed. He developed it, he built it, he improved it, he marketed it, he sold it, and then he sold the entire corporation and has given over $30 billion of his own dollars to reduce poverty, to further education. The most controversial example of all, a man who had more money than the federal government with a $42 million per year income, only to quit his job, become the most hated man in America, spend $66 million of his own cash to sit in the hot seat of the world, from where he donates his relatively meager salary to national parks and to other charities. Guess who? The leader of the free world and the CEO. That's the CEO of the United States of give, give, give. But yeah, capitalism is like selfish. So often when I bring up Donald Trump, I expect boos and hisses. That's because our nation has forgotten that America at her best has no room for identity politics, for name games. That America at her best elects representatives based on merit, holds them accountable to principle and function, and allows them to peacefully return to their careers when they're done in office. We have forgotten that America at her best has no room for temper tantrums and name-calling. That's not how we win elections. That we actually resort to substance, to action, and to principle. Because when America focuses on fact, when America focuses on issues-based politics, instead of feelings-based riots, Americans live in a better country. Because Americans spend their time participating in the republic instead of crying about the rules that other people made. But we only have a republic if we can keep it. We've known that. The truth is, there are people gunning for our freedoms. You can complain all you want about how messy American politics is, but when it comes down to it, America is a nation that overcomes. We started out as a few poor colonists in a dim, stuffy room. We became the world's leader in every area, greater than any nation, state, or empire in the history of the world. It's because of the values, the vision, the principle, the heart, and most importantly, the recognition of God-given rights. And so when the Tories, the Confederates, the Nazis, the Soviets, the Communist Party USA, when Al-Qaeda, when ISIS, when the Taliban, when the mainstream media, the radical left lobbies, the postmodernists, and the social justice warriors tell us to lay down our freedoms, to be tolerant, Americans, at our best, we plant our feet and we plant our flag. And by the grace of the God in whom we still trust, we proudly proclaim, God bless America. Thanks. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.